There was one suggestion that we include an opportunity for people to sort of go around, all the committee members, that is, and introduce themselves. And I was going to suggest that we do that before we sort of plunge into new business, if that makes sense to everyone. Okay. Well, if there are no changes, or did I see a hand raised? Actually, I did see a hand raised a second ago. Linda?
I just wanted to confirm, are we following Scio Township's rules of order for meeting, or are we going to need to establish our own?
Well, that's a good question. I think that's a question for the committee. I mean, there are some things that are required by the Open Meetings Act. For example, all public meetings have to include a time for public comments, but there's different ways to do that. So that's really up to the committee to decide for itself to some degree. It doesn't have to occur, that decision doesn't have to occur at this meeting in particular. That could occur at a subsequent meeting. Unless you wanted to add it to the agenda, we can do that.
No, I just wanted to confirm if we needed to.
Okay. If there are no other changes or additions to the agenda, would someone like to move the adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
I'll move it.
Okay. Looks like moved by Knol, support by Shields. I'll call the roll. Groden? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Hubert?
Yes.
Kerry?
You mean Jillian? Yes.
Yes. Knol?
Yes.
Sharma?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Smith? Yeah, okay. And Townsend?
Yes.
And Walsh?
Yes.
Okay, the agenda is adopted. Now it's time for public comment. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment at this time? Pam Boyd. Let me unmute.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Great. I wanted to welcome you all to this very first auspicious meeting. I also wanted to point out, if you're noticing your screen flicker, I see that on my Zoom screen, it's having technical difficulties. There's quite the geomagnetic storm happening right now that's directed.
Recording in progress.
I'm sorry, I forgot to press recording. Go ahead, Pam.
That's okay. That the geomagnetic storm will cause disruptions, and it looks like, so if you lose the Zoom connection, that is probably why. Otherwise, charge ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pam. Are there any other comments? Public comments? In that case, there is another time for public comments at the end of the meeting. So there'll be another opportunity. Let's move on then to the first item of new business, which is round of introductions. If each of the committee members would like to introduce themselves, give a little bit about their background. Probably you keep to no more than 3 minutes. That would probably be good.
Hey, Will, should we do it alphabetical like you've done the call, just to keep it organized?
Yeah, I think that probably would be good. Let's do it in the order of the roll. So Bob Groden, that would put you first.
Okay, let's see. I always like to tell everybody I grew up in the Bronx. I'm a New Yorker through and through. 45 years in manufacturing, 2 years at GE, 16 years at General Motors, and 27 plus years at Ford. Just retired last March. I was plant manager for many years at Ford. Engineering degree, business degree. Moved in here 10 years ago to Scio. We moved quite a bit around the Great Lakes with Ford. 3 grown kids, doing well. Married 37 years, and can't get my wife to downsize. She loves it here. So here we are.
Great, thank you. Next would be you, Ian Hubert.
Yep. Hi, Ian Hubert. Grew up in the UK. Came to the US 23 years ago. Scio Township. I've lived here 4 years and 1 day. So I'm somewhat of a newbie compared to some of you guys. I'm married to Kira. We have 3 young children, and happen to be a neighbor of Bob's just down the road. My background is also engineering. I started my career in crash testing very nice cars. Didn't like that very much, thought it was a bit boring, but could be quite useful in this road commission in one respect or another. Got into vehicle dynamics, so ride and handling of vehicles. So I'm used to kind of the concepts of, roads and how they, how we drive on them. Then got into the software modeling side of that particular field. And I'm still very much involved in that aspect of the engineering. Also now working more with autonomous vehicles. So I'm looking forward to meeting everyone and helping wherever I can. Thank you.
Thanks. Jillian Kerry.
A Scio resident since April 2011. It's been quite the journey. Moved in to my house and there's a huge non-disclosure issue, flooding of the neighborhood. So that it got me well, not really interested. I had to do it in order to get the issue fixed. So I learned a lot about local government, county level, township level, how things work, and then that just kind of snowballed into helping others. So here I am. I love to study, I love to learn, and I'm kind of a legal nerd. I like to read statutes and law, and I don't know, just like to know how things work. I have 3 daughters. They're grown. Just had my oldest just had my first grandbaby actually on her birthday, which is my birthday. So we have a triple celebration. That's a lot of fun. Let's see, life coach. I guess that's about it. I live on, did I say Luella, which is, rather live in a different area of Scio, but that's another story. So, I'm glad to be on the road advisory committee and helping residents in our township.
Great, thanks. Kathy Knol.
Yes, I've been a Scio Township resident for 25 years. I'm married. I have a grown daughter. I live in the southeastern corner of the township in the uplands. Pat Shields is my neighbor. We know each other. I've previously served on the Scio board, so I have been a trustee for the last 5 years and was the township clerk from 2004 through 2008. I'm a retired attorney. I have been heavily involved in the gallium dioxide contamination issue in Scio for the last 5 years.
Thanks. Rakesh Sharma.
Hi, my name is Rakesh Sharma, and I have been a resident of Scio Township for the past 20 years. I live off Zeeb Road. In fact, I think I moved to the U.S. about 27 years ago, and except for a brief stint in Arizona where I went to grad school, and my first job in Virginia, I pretty much lived here my entire life. And so really Scio Township is really part of our life. My 2 boys were born here. Grew up in the automotive industry, doing supply chain. I'm an engineer by profession, but moved into consulting, and that's where I now reside in the business consulting space. Left engineering some time ago. Married with two boys. One is in college, the other one is in high school, at Schuyler High School, and I'm also a member of the Planning Commission here at Scio Township. So glad to be here on this committee, and looking forward to working with all of you as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Shields.
Hi, I'll give you briefly my experience in the township. We've been here 22 years. In that time, I was on the Uplands Board for 18, president of the Homeowners Association for 6. We've got a little conservancy down the road of 70 acres. I'm president of that. In terms of the township, I've been on the ZBA with Bob Walsh. On TAP, the Transportation Alternatives Planning Committee with Roy. I was on the original Local Roads Committee with Roy. And I also was in charge of an initiative in our community to get an SAD involved. So I'm familiar with that experience on the ground level, or our roads were in gravel, the gravel level. I'm involved here because I think our local government is the most important level of government. It's a little bit like Jillian. This is where the action happens. This is where you can really make a difference in people's lives. And so I really enjoy my work with the township, and I'm looking forward to working with you all in the next stage of what the Roads Committee is.
Thank you, Patrick. Linda Smith. You seem to be muted, even though.
No, I am a 40-year resident now. Oh no, I don't show muting. Well, what can I do?
Well, yeah, I can hear you now. It just seemed like you were muted a second ago.
I am a 40-year resident, accounting / business person. Our family owned a number of farms in Scio Township when I was a kid, which over the years we have continued to farm. So I have used the roads as an equipment operator. I have used the roads as a developer of property. We've built roads in developments. I have been a part of the Parkland Plaza SAD several years ago, part of the Parkland Plaza Sidewalks Initiative. We're happy to finally have sidewalks in Parkland Plaza with citizen help. I haven't served on any township boards, but I've certainly been to a lot of township meetings over the last 30 years with one project and another. Business owner on Parkland Plaza as well as South Wagner Road. I live on West Liberty with my husband of 36 years.
Thank you. Roy Townsend. Look, but you're muted.
Try again. Okay. Yeah, I'm a graduate civil engineer. First worked in California for Caltrans for about 3 to 4 years. Moved back to Michigan, and actually my first job was at Washington County Road Commission back in Michigan. And one of my first projects was paving of Wagner Road from Miller up to Huron River Drive in 1988. So I was at the Road Commission 31 years. I retired 3 years ago, and now I work for Washington County Parks, building border trails. So I'm in charge of the construction of those trails, and we've been doing about 5 miles a year. So I'm pretty familiar with trails and roads. At the Road Commission, I was on the Local Roads Committee for Scio. Obviously, I was on a lot of other roads committee in other townships. Worked with all 20 townships, worked with Scio, like I said, since really 1988 through, worked on the DDA, all the Jackson Boulevard projects. So I'm very familiar with roads. Now that I'm semi-retired, obviously I work with parks 3/4 time, building trails. I'm also the chair of the TAP committee, Transportation Alternative Plans, and at Scio Township, so I've been involved with Scio. Lived here 20 years, lived in the county about 35 years. And I've done numerous special assessment districts, not only in Scio Township, but countywide, and actually was involved in the road millage that was passed in 2016, countywide millage of set aside 20% for non-motorized, 80% for roads. So I am quite familiar with roads. That's been sort of my life and my passion, I guess.
Hey, thanks. That brings us to Bob Walsh.
Hi, I'm Bob Walsh. Like a few others, I have an engineering degree and a business degree. The business degree is what pulled me into Southeast Michigan. 89. I've been here since. Spent 27 years at Ford. Last two major jobs were investment efficiency and alliance management. Retired in 2018 and decided I'd get more involved in the township. Talked with the previous administration about opportunities. Prior to that, well, we moved here in 2007. Prior to that, I'd been many years doing the monthly recycling at the township hall. From that, Patrick noted I'm on the ZBA now, also an election inspector, and this seemed like another opportunity to contribute. So that's it in a nutshell. Oh, and I'm apparently a neighbor of Ian and Bob. So three of us are over off East Delhi.
Great. All right. Well, thanks. Now that we've completed the round of introductions, that brings us to the first item of new business. This is the possible action. Well, actually, it is an action that needs to be taken this evening. And that's the decision by the committee of whom to serve as chairperson of the committee. I didn't provide a lot of background in writing up this agenda item, but I can sort of give you a sense of what this involves. I mean, I think you understand the chairperson moderates the meetings, but also has some responsibility for assembling and posting the agenda. Obviously, that would also involve whomever is serving as the secretary for the committee. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I guess as you go, you may determine that you want your committee chairperson to shoulder other responsibilities. That's really sort of up to the committee to determine how it wants to accomplish the work of the committee. But the chairperson sort of plays the role of kind of guiding the meetings and sort of moving things along in between in some ways. So I guess that with that, let's throw it open to discussion. If there's anyone who, I see a hand actually now that I look. Jillian, would you like to sort of be the person to kick off the discussion?
Well, actually, I think there's some attendees that want in.
Oh.
I can't tell from.
Oh yeah. Thank you. I see somebody. I see Rob up there. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
So while I'm here, what does the chairperson do exactly? Is that kind of like what the supervisor would do during a board meeting, kind of?
Yes, moderating the meeting is a big responsibility for the chairperson, and someone suggested to me that it might be good to also have for the committee to also have a sort of a vice chair in case the chairperson isn't available. Then you don't have to fumble around trying to figure out whom to substitute for the chairperson.
So that person would have access to Zoom, or would
yeah,
have
so,
to have Zoom.
Right. Yeah.
Going to be able to meet in person at some point in time, so we can avoid Zoom.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jillian.
Well, we're under emergency order with the county until December 31st, and then after that, we would still have to have the hybrid meetings. So somebody would still, according to the resolution. Is that
right?
Right.
Well, that's the resolution. Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly the wording of it, how it applies to other committees other than the board. There may be more flexibility for for committees. I'm not sure. I'd have to. You may have a better memory of it than me, Jillian. But
I don't have it in front of me.
Patrick.
With TAP, we've been meeting, doing the hybrid model for the last 2 or 3 months. Is that about right, Roy? 3 months?
Correct.
And so probably half the committee members are in the township hall, and the system there is wonderful, very easy to use, and people can participate via Zoom easily, and the movement back and forth is very comfortable for everybody. So that is clearly an option even now.
Well, Patrick, I guess that sounds like you should be chair.
Rakesh?
A question and a point, I guess. How often are we meeting? Maybe I missed that already. But what's the frequency of a meeting?
The meeting schedule is actually 2 agenda items down, so that question hasn't yet been answered. I think most advisory committees with which I'm familiar meet on a monthly basis.
Monthly basis, that's what okay. And the point I wanted to make was, for the Planning Commission, we have a hybrid model, kind of, where we meet both there and remotely. In the township hall, some people prefer to go there, some people prefer to patch in remotely. And this has been going on for many months. So every meeting, literally, we have it there as well as remotely. Just some food for thought. So maybe that's the model. And it serves well, because sometimes I have calls till 6 o'clock or 6:30 on the West Coast, and then I have to jump on this call at 7. So getting to Scio Township takes me a good 10 minutes or so. So sometimes I can't make it. Anyway, just some thoughts.
Yeah, and if I could share, the township board has been essentially doing the same thing. We've had a hybrid meeting format now for quite a while, and it has worked fairly well.
Perhaps the first meeting we can have in person, so we get to know each other, meet each other, maybe, kind of meet and greet kind of thing, if everybody's comfortable doing it. If not, then perfectly understandable as well. But just my thought, my 2 cents.
We seem to be sort of moving into another agenda item. Maybe we should wrap up the question of who you want to choose as your committee chair. And I should point out that the wording of the committee charge calls for a majority vote of the committee in terms of selecting the chairperson, but it doesn't make that same requirement for other positions. So you needn't be so formal if you choose in terms of identifying the secretary.
I guess. Go ahead.
Oh.
I spoke with Pat Shields this afternoon because I thought he might be ideal to be chair. I'll let him speak for himself here, but he basically said he's overcommitted with other responsibilities. So I'm wondering about Roy Townsend, if he would be interested. Roy, you have a lot of experience also.
Right.
I saw Roy was just about to speak, so it's perfect segue.
Yeah, I do know a lot about roads. I'm currently the chair of the TAP committee, which I got sort of by default. I agreed to be vice chair, then the chair stepped down, and so I guess I'm more than willing to be vice chair, and obviously I'm more than willing to work with everyone. Obviously, hearing everyone has a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of great people on this committee. And I was managing director of the road commission, so I'm more than capable of doing it, but I think I'm just sort of overcommitted. I got a lot of things going on with parks still, and with the township, with the TAP, and being chair of 2 committees. I guess I don't want to overextend myself. I guess one person that came to my mind was Linda Smith. I don't know if she'd be interested, knowing that she's lived in the township a long time and done roads, from the public end of it, using them and also building them. That might be a person. I don't know. Surprise, bring it on you, Linda, but that might be something I guess I'd make it a nomination. That's the process. I'm not sure the process here will. I guess I'll throw it to Linda and see if she's at all. I guess we're sort of passing around. Kathy said Patrick said no, Kathy said me, and I'm sort of passing us all. I guess I'll ask Linda if she's at all interested and see. Let's go from there. How about that?
Sounds a little bit like hot potato, Roy.
Yes.
I do have bandwidth to do it. I am willing to do it. I can't tell you I have an engineering degree, but I think if we work together, we can probably make this a successful committee. We're trying to do things that will make the township safer and a better place to drive.
Great. Ian.
That sounds great, and I don't want to be controversial. I was just going to ask if there was anybody who wanted to do it, like, because there may be, and we haven't asked that question.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not one of them. I feel like I'm like everybody else. I'm way overcommitted. So,
yeah.
But maybe somebody wants to do it. In which case, now's your moment. Otherwise, Linda, you've got it.
Well, it sounds like we have a nomination, and you could have multiple nominations, I suppose. But the way that this is structured is there's a motion. So I think I would interpret, Roy, you're nominating Linda as making the motion. Is there support for the nomination of Linda? Ian?
Yeah, I'll support.
Okay, so we have moved by Townsend. I'm going to play the role of secretary here for a moment, and support by Hubert. Is there further discussion? This is where if someone else really wants to do this, they could step forward and indicate an interest. If not, Patrick.
I obviously don't want to do it, but I want to say I've worked with Linda with TAP on the Southwood development, and it's been really a pleasure to work with her. It's very creative, thinking through how we can move through the property wisely and reasonably priced to get the next stage of the Parkland Plaza to Liberty Trail built, or pathway built. So that's a vote of support.
Kathy.
I'm not interested, but I'm wondering if Bob Groden has any interest in this. He has a lot of managerial experience.
I'd have some interest, but based on the experiences I heard, certainly Roy and Pat and Linda, I think I defer to any of those three that have a little more experience than I do with the roads and living here. So, I mean, I'll do whatever I can to be part of the committee, but I'd rather take a sit back and watch a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Jillian?
What are the responsibilities for the chair? Maybe we can get some clarity. Exactly. Well, we know running the meetings, but what other types of responsibilities?
Well, some of that is up to the committee as you go forward in terms of how you want to accomplish your work. In the past, and Patrick, you probably can speak to this better than me because you were on the roads committee. But I think in the past, the chair of the committee has sort of played a very active role in going out into the community and sort of mentoring people who were trying to organize neighborhood SADs, trying to identify roads that had problems and needed attention, coming up with priorities. But that could be accomplished in different ways by the committee members. It doesn't have to be so much on the shoulders of one individual, but the primary responsibilities, I would say, have to do with sort of the operation of the committee, making sure that everyone is informed of meetings, that the meetings themselves are run efficiently, that they're done, that the meetings are being sort of noticed and in the minutes and agendas posted so that everything's done in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. Those are the kinds of things that the committee chairs, I guess the committee chairs primary responsibilities are those, and then anything else is sort of it's up to the committee how it wants to organize itself.
Okay.
Patrick?
I want to, rather than address how Lou did this, and you described it very accurately, I want to talk about how Roy and I have organized our work at TAP, and that is as secretary, I put together the initial draft of the agenda, and then he and Jane Vogel, who's our BOT rep, work through the agenda. I pull all the materials together, talking them through with Roy and making sure that they get put up on the website. And I think that works really well for the chair, and it fits in nicely with my work style. So that's an option that the secretary, I just bring it up because the secretary and the chair can work through how they want to do those things, so that all of that burden doesn't fall to the chair.
Yeah, and Patrick's right. I mean, a lot of times, as being the chair, Patrick and I work together, and I think whoever the secretary, we work closely with the chair. And then, I reach out to, other members, or at the end of the meetings, what do we want to put on? Is there something we need to add to the agenda for next meeting? So we try to get input from the committee. I think this committee, if I recall, there's some sort of a task of things we're to look to accomplish in the next X number of months. I mean, it's going to be sort of, for a while, a sort of a standing agenda of some of those things. Not that we're going to accomplish them all in the first few months, but some of them are long-term goals. So those are some of the things, discussion. And like Will said, you're just sort of running the meeting and sort of understanding background, understanding how government meetings work and those type of things. And, since Patrick and I and Kathy and others have been in these, so it's like, we can help you along. Like I said, I'd be more than happy if you're looking for a vice chair, be happy to be a vice chair. Because I was the chair of the TAP and I had a family situation I couldn't make to a meeting. So we had to cancel a meeting. So I think having a vice chair, and if someone else wants to be vice chair, so be it. But you're just sort of like the backup, in case something happens and that chair can't make it, then you wouldn't have to cancel a meeting. Because if you don't have a vice chair, technically you can't have a meeting. At least that was our understanding, Patrick and I's. And if there's a different understanding, but I'm not sure there is, that there's no chair, there's sort of no meeting. And that's just unfortunate. So that's why I think, having a vice chair, like I said, if someone else wants to do it, that's fine, but I'm more than willing to be the backup. That's something, but let's continue on with the chairperson discussion, there's other further discussions on that.
Are there other comments or questions before we call a vote? Oh, it's up to the committee, but if there's people who are who feel strongly and want to comment from the public, that's also possible. Well, seeing no further comments, then what I'd suggest is that we go ahead and call the roll on a motion. The motion is that Linda Smith be appointed chairperson of the Roads Advisory Committee. Groden.
Yes, thank you, Linda.
Hubert.
Yes, thank you, Linda.
Kerry.
Yes, Linda, if that's what you want. Thank you.
Yeah. Knol.
Yes, and thank you.
Sharma.
Yes, thank you.
Shields.
Way to go, Linda. Thank you. That's 2 thumbs up.
Smith, you also have a vote.
Back to myself. Yes.
Townsend.
Yes.
And Walsh.
Yes, and thank you. Good luck.
All right, so it is unanimous. Thank you, Linda, because now I will turn over the meeting to you. you are the moderator for the rest of the meeting. Are you ready for that?
I hope so.
Okay.
So if we're on agenda item E1 for chairperson, and we had a discussion about the value of a vice chair, I'm not sure, but perhaps we should discuss whether we can get Roy to do the vice chair position or if someone else wants it before we move on to secretary.
Like I said, I'm willing to be vice chair, but if someone else would like to, I'm more than willing just to help from the sidelines too. So either way, I'm fine. I guess maybe the question is, would someone else like to be vice chair? If so, raise your hand.
None. I'm not sure that we need to vote, but just for procedural action, let's do so. If everyone's ready. So in order, Bob Groden,
Yes.
Ian Hubert,
Yes.
Jillian Kerry.
I'm sorry, you were cut out a little bit. I couldn't hear you.
Are you willing to vote for Roy Townsend to be vice chair so we have a vice chair position? Rakesh Sharma? Rakesh, did we lose you?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. All right. Patrick Shields?
Yes.
Linda Smith will vote yes. Roy Townsend?
Yes.
Bob Walsh?
Yes.
All right, so Roy
You skipped
Townsend.
me. Linda, you skipped me.
I'm sorry, Kathleen Knol.
Yes.
Not intentionally, I'm learning. All right, so I think we've now closed E1. Moving on to E2, we need action on a secretary, and we're only so many people. Yes, Kathy?
Okay, I want to try another nomination. Jillian Kerry for secretary.
Would you like to speak on that?
I'll do my best to, yes, I'll learn. Because I don't see, Bob Groden or Ian Hubert stepping up here, and everybody else is on a committee, so, no, I will do it. If
Does anyone else wish to nominate themselves or others for the secretary position for the roads committee?
Jillian, your summary was correct. I will not step up, and I appreciate you doing so. So thank you.
All right. So Kathleen Knol has nominated Jillian Kerry for the position of secretary. Are we ready to have a vote?
I'll support that.
I support it. Yep.
Okay, so Roy, second. All right. Well, we'll start again, and I will do it in the right order. Bob Groden,
Yes.
Ian Hubert,
Yes.
Jillian Kerry,
yes,
Kathleen Knol,
Yes.
Rakesh Sharma,
Yes.
Patrick Shields,
Yes, with a big thank you.
Linda Smith, yes, with a big thank you. Roy Townsend,
Yes.
Bob Walsh.
Yes.
Well, congratulations, Jillian, you're a member of the team.
no, thank you.
All right, 100%. Next agenda item is the meeting schedule. Rakesh was asking if we are to meet monthly. It sounds like evenings may work better for many of you who are working. Do people have opinions or ideas? Day of the week, time of day. I like Wednesdays. We're
Yeah,
working
Wednesdays
into
can
the-
work for me. I mean, I can do late afternoon or evening, either one.
Roy, we want to avoid the second Wednesday, though.
Right.
So that's when TAB meets.
and Tuesday are out for other conflicts with other meetings in the evening. Does anyone else have difficulties with Wednesdays if we avoid the second Wednesday?
No, Wednesdays are good for me, and I'm also available late afternoon or evening. Tuesdays and Thursdays are bad for me.
Is there a preference with anyone for late afternoon, and is that 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not retired yet, so I need to get off work first. So preferably a bit later on would be better, 6 or 7.
Same for me. Same for me. So 6 or 7 would be desirable.
Prefer 6 o'clock over 7 o'clock?
I'd vote for 6, yes.
Yep.
I can do either. I'm used to it being 7, but I can do either 6 or 7.
I can do either also.
Keep 6 o'clock then? We get off a little earlier?
Jillian has a hand raised.
Yeah, could we?
I'm sorry, Jillian.
I'm sorry. Could we do 6:30? Kind of go in between. That way we can get some dinner in and not be too late into the evening. Excuse me.
That works fine for me. Does anyone have difficulty with 6:30? All right. How about the first Wednesday of the month? Does anyone have difficulty with that? As a target date? Very good. You caught me without a calendar in front of me. Jillian, do you happen to have one on your desk?
Yep. And actually today is the first Wednesday of the month, and it seems to be working out for everybody. So we could stick with that, or what was it? The third? Are you, Patrick? You said the
Cannot be the second. So
yeah.
would you just, so that we've got a couple dates on the calendar, what is the first Wednesday in December and the first Wednesday in January, please?
It's the first of December and then the 5th of January.
Can we set those as targets?
And then the
For the
2nd of
next couple meetings.
February.
6:30 p.m. December 1st is the next meeting. We certainly can make changes if we need to. I'm not sure what our quorum will be. And we may need to establish that. Obviously, if we don't have a chair, we need a vice chair present, but how many members need to attend a meeting?
I think 5.
Okay.
Because you have 9 voting members. Is that right, Kathy? You would probably know.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
Yeah,
5.
a simple majority should be right.
Yes.
Number to target, and we can collaborate with, I guess, Christy at Scio Township, or someone will explain to us how to do the Zoom. I liked Rakesh's idea of trying to meet at the township for, if not the December 1st meeting, one of the early meetings, just so we have a chance to be in the same place at the same time. I realize not everyone's comfortable with that under all circumstances, but if you'd be willing to consider it, I'd like to suggest that we try and have the first meeting at the township hall, if it's available.
We could check. I'll tell you what. I'll send a email to Christy, and to see if the meeting hall is available on that date at that time, and then that way, if there are people who want to participate remotely, it'll be easier because you can use the technology in the meeting hall.
Right, and like Patrick and I, it's pretty. Christy will probably, Linda and Jillian, you just need to come in. It takes 10 minutes or something. Right. And Patrick and I are more than happy to assist you. But it's pretty simple, like the technology they have there, just sort of like once you get up to speed, it works quite well. And, and like I said, if half the group is at home or wherever they are, a coffee shop, whatever, that's fine. And if 3 or 4 of us want to meet there, that works fine. So the setup at the township hall works just great. And I think, I guess we should, before we lock in that date, the first Mondays, which sound great, but I guess I'd hate to find out that the township hall is reserved on the first Wednesday of every month for the next 6 months or whatever.
I can't think of one of our committees that meets on the first Wednesday of the month, but it's true. I may not be tracking on it, or there may be somebody who's reserved the space for some other purpose. We have just recently started letting some of the groups that have used the meeting hall schedule meetings in that space. I'll let Linda take back over the meeting.
That's fine. If we need to meet remotely, for the 1st and January 5th, we can do so, and then we can make adjustments as we need. But it's nice to get the first couple meetings with the holidays on calendars because it's a busy time of year.
Looking at the schedule on the township hall or township website, there's nothing for the very first day of the month. December 2nd is the environmental sustainability task force, and then in January 3rd would be their next meeting. So that is, I think we're good on the first Wednesday.
Great.
Very good. I'll get in touch with Christy at the township and let everyone know. Everyone had an email that was linked to them for this meeting. Is that the email that everyone prefers to use for contact for this purpose?
Yep.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've put meeting schedule to bed for the immediate future. Can we agree that we'll look at February and March in December? If that's acceptable?
Yeah.
Yep.
Move through these first couple.
Linda, I have a conflict on the first. It's just the performance I'm going to. So we've got tickets, and I need to do that. But I'll keep that day clear, day of the week, day of the month clear from now on. Apologize, but
No, you had no way of knowing, Patrick. Thank you. All right. Well, we've agreed that we need to have 5, so December and January just get tricky. That's all there is to it. If you don't mind, we'll keep the date rather than trying to renegotiate it.
absolutely. That's why I put it that way. We've got a date that works for everybody. Let's go with it.
All right. I am not entirely sure what the intention with E4 committee charge is, but I think it means what do we see the committee doing? Will?
The intent was to sort of put before the committee the list of things that the Board of Trustees sort of envisioned the committee tackling. Obviously, some of these have some urgency to them that others don't. And so I think this was meant to be an opportunity for the committee to sort of look at them, begin to sort of think about what the priorities are, which items have more urgency to them for one reason or another, and start to think about prioritizing. I don't think, you can, sort of work all the way through this long list in one meeting, certainly not your first meeting. So it's really just meant to sort of be a starting point, I think.
Will, could you provide a little background about what the Board of Trustees' thinking was when they established this committee? I'm sure there's some context to it.
Well, Kathy and I actually just, had some discussions in formulating, sort of updating the list. But this list, this committee is sort of a revival of a prior Roads Advisory Committee. I may be bungling the name of that prior committee, but in any case, there was a committee, and you were on it for some time.
The Local Roads Committee is what we called it.
And I think this was an effort to sort of, review the list of tasks or areas of concern that were the work of that committee, and sort of update it to include some things, either things that are sort of prompted by recent events, or just the reality that certain things are coming due. One of the latter would be the township-wide SAD. There's only another year or so of that before that expires. So since that's the way that the township funds the work that is done on road maintenance and improvement, that's a question that needs to be answered fairly soon. The former would include, I think, a situation that many people on the committee are familiar with, and that is the recent SAD. It actually never really rose to the level of becoming an SAD, but the question of whether there should be an SAD in the West Delhi neighborhood of, or no, not West Delhi, excuse me, Delhi Mills neighborhood, East Delhi and Railroad Street. And so there was a question there, and there was a whole lot of conflict, and I think it raised a lot of issues about how the township works with neighborhoods where there are some neighbors who are interested in paving roads, and how to handle that going forward in a way that makes the process feel fairer to everyone in the neighborhood, both those opposed and those in favor. Usually, my experience, limited as it is with SADs, and some of you have much more experience than me, is there's always someone in a neighborhood who does not favor paving. So there's always somebody who objects, and the question is, where is the majority, and is there enough of a majority to go forward? I think that's sort of the simple description of the law. But how the government body that is approached for the SAD responds and the role that it plays, that's a question I think that the board felt, especially in the aftermath of what happened in the Delhi Mills neighborhood, is something that this committee could study a little bit and give some advice on, and perhaps come up with a different approach than what the township has had in the past. And those are just two examples of things that are on the list of items in the charge. There's the working relationship between the township and the road commission, which, that's really sort of how almost all of this happens. That's another thing that really, I think, merits some attention, and there's probably ways that it can be improved. Obviously, the road commission, we can't sort of dictate to them, nobody can, what to do, but we can sort of study how the township is working with them, and see if there's ways to improve communications. There's a lot of sort of points in that process where the township has to look at a list of potential projects and prioritize. So there's an annual function there for this committee to do. I feel like I'm going through your list for you. It's probably not what you were looking for.
A good start. Gives us some ideas.
Hey, Linda, I guess I'll throw it out here to the committee. I think it was in July, Will invited me and another local roads committee member to address the township board. I think it was July, I believe. But anyways, I'd be happy at our next meeting, just to give you a little bit of background on how roads are funded in the state of Michigan, and because road funding anywhere, but Michigan, it's complicated. It's probably complicated in Iowa and Ohio, everywhere else. But at least I know the law, how it works in Michigan. I can explain how the local roads are funded, how major roads are funded. And, if you want, I'd be happy to, give me 15 minutes as an agenda item at our next meeting. And I can just talk about that and answer questions, and just at least give you some background on, the relationship between the township and the road commission, and like I said, how roads are funded, a little mini history on SADs and those laws. So I think it just give you some background. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time and happy to share that information. If you like, add that to the agenda for next meeting, I'd be happy to do that.
I think that would be a very good idea, just to make sure that we're all up to speed.
Yeah, I wanted to add that the road commission presentation to the board meeting was excellent. There was a PowerPoint presentation that you did. It was longer than 15 minutes though.
Yes. Yeah. It was the road commission's presentation. Yeah. So I used it because the road commission wasn't available, but I'd been given that presentation for like 5 years. So I sort of knew it like back of my hand. So yeah, you still have that. I'd be happy to. Will, I think you had it from Cheryl Siddle, the managing director of the road commission. I'd be happy to go through that, or I can try to reduce it down if you think you want to reduce down. I'd be happy to go through all, I don't know what it was, the 20 or 30 slides. I don't remember all of them, but I'd be happy to, give you that. And then you can, maybe we can actually send that out ahead of time too, and share it with the people. So then if they wanted to look at the PowerPoint ahead of time, and study up and ask, so they have some questions available, that's a possibility too, Will or Kathy.
Yeah, I thought the PowerPoint was excellent, and I've heard it more than once, but I learned something each time. So I think it would be helpful to have the whole PowerPoint.
Okay, I'd be happy
your
to.
Hand up. Patrick, do you have a question?
I agree that it'd be great to have the whole PowerPoint, even though I won't be there. But I think this is what we're going to be doing for a long time. And the more we know about it from the start, the better off we will all be.
I saw that presentation as well, and there's some very good charts in there, as well as just some, hard data that we'll be able to refer back to as we make decisions in the future. So it would be useful to have it in advance, I think, so that Patrick has the opportunity. I'll try and make it available by email, and then we'll know what we're all talking about in the future if we refer to it. I will plan to put that as an agenda item. I'll discuss with you, Roy, what you want to call that at some point. All right, so.
Ian's got his hand up.
Thank you. Ian?
Yeah, hi. Roy, thanks. It's great to have a civil engineer on the team. So, I look forward to being educated on those black things that I love driving on so much. So I think it'd be really useful. The other thing that comes just listening in that I think we should be thinking about is obviously Will has given us the charge of this particular team, and it was kind of hinted at that there is some priority. And I think it'd be really useful if at some point we could get some kind of insight in terms of what you are thinking are the priorities, so that way as a team we can kind of start getting our head in the game and looking at some of these things that you need. Obviously we're an advisory committee, so we want to advise, and we need to know what's important to you in terms to start looking at what the charge is and what we should be focusing on, given that we know that we can't focus on everything immediately. And yeah, I mean, the SAD is very near and dear to my heart, but if that's not the main thing right away, then fine. But we should obviously have some understanding what you want from us, so that we can get working on it.